Hello, Lateral over here, and we're back today on F1 2020. And as you can see, we are here at USA for another track guide. This time, instead of a time trial, I'm in the qualifying session just to show you how a qualifying lap is around this track. But as always, we're going to be doing one lap at full speed, one lap in detail, and then I'll show you the setup. That was the lap then. As you can see, it's a 1 minute 29.1 and my PB is a 29.0. So not a bad lap. Now we're going to go in more detail with that lap. Starting off with the final corner, go as wide as possible to carry as much speed as possible onto the straight. Get a good exit, and now as we head down the main straight with DRS wide open, heading into turn 1, start braking around 5 to 10 meters before that black box. Use all of the entry curb under braking. You can push the limits a lot with the braking since it's uphill. Use all of the inside curb, and ideally you want to avoid the outside curb to avoid oversteer. Through turn 2, use all of the inside curb, and into the S section you want to maximize the track limits, as you can see we're doing here. And you can see we absolutely nailed the track limits here. You want to do this on each corner to set up for the next S, and you can see that we do the exact same thing. For this one, the first 3 S's are easy flat. You start braking for the final S. You kind of cut back but stick to the inside line. And then for this sequence of corners, brake as the black box goes out of view. Use the inside curbs. Stay towards the middle of the track for turn 8 and start braking just as you pass the end of that curb. And it's really important to use as much inside curb as possible to set up for turn 9, where you use once again as much inside curb and then all of the exit curb. If you get the line wrong through there, you'll just lose so much time. But into turn 11, brake around 15 meters I'd say, away from the 50-meter board. Use all of the track on entry, and you either want to nail that inside curb or completely miss it to focus on a very good exit for the main or the back straight for activating the DRS and heading down this straight now. Just easy flat because it's a straight line. And now into turn 12, braking around 5 to 10 meters before that 50-meter board, using all of the track on entry, and you can use so much of that inside curb. Short shift into 3rd, then into 4th, and use all of the exit curb. And into here, not really any good braking points, just do it off of feeling. And we already go back on throttle as we hit the apex, and the traction zone is very difficult, so be careful not to oversteer. And then for this one, very easy to lock the brakes. Also a bit of undulation on the apex of the corner. Straight line the car on the exit so that you can get a good exit before this easy flat right-hander. Just stick to the inside of the track. And then into turn 19, start braking as that black box goes out of view, and use all of the inside curb as well as all of the outside curb before heading into the final corner, where you brake around 5 to 10 meters before that black box and use all of the curbs, even that sausage curb on the inside because it's pretty flat. and then head on to the main straight to finish your lap at COTA. Now let's go in detail for each part of the setup, starting off with the aero, using 4-7 wings, and although there are a couple straights on this track, it is also important that we have a responsive car with enough downforce to take those technical high-speed sections, as well as those low-speed sections. It's still important. So we're using 7 on the rear wing so that we have a stable rear end of the car, and then 4 on the front wing so that we're relatively quick in a straight line, but still we have a sharp front end of the car. For the transmission, using 50% on throttle, which is pretty normal, and then 51% off throttle, which gave me a lot of very nice off throttle rotation mid-corner. So I really liked that setting, and that's what I stuck with. And then for the suspension geometry, using pretty normal settings, -2.5 front camber, -2 rear camber, and minimum toe worked really well on this setup. Then for the suspension, definitely not as aggressive as what I use for most of my other setups around other tracks, and that is because I did try going more aggressive on these settings, but the car was simply too unstable and oversteery, especially through those high-speed sections, like the first sector through that S section. So this was the best settings that I could find. I fine-tuned it to try and find the best settings possible, and this is what I came out with. And it provided with a very stable car as well as some good rotation. So the suspension settings are 1.6 on the suspension, 1.3 on the anti-roll bars, and 2.4 on the ride height. For the brakes then, using 100% brake pressure and 50% brake bias as usual. If you're struggling with rear locking, then try raising the brake bias to 51 or maybe 52%. And then for the tire pressures, minimum as always. I definitely like this setup. Obviously, not everyone may like this setup, so obviously make adjustments to you. But I found that it worked very well in both qualifying and the race. So I hope you like it as well. That's going to be it for today's track guide. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as I post F1 content 3 times per week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.